afternoon.
Good evening.
umbraCoffee. Another month. Another umbraCoffee.
Well, this one came around really quick. I was looking on the recent videos, and it said that the previous umbraCoffee was 3 weeks ago, and I think that's actually technically not Coke Garden, post Coke Garden. We did one like a week after Coke Garden, didn't we? Or 10 days after Coke Garden, and then here we are 3 weeks later. It feels far too early in the month to be doing this. It's not August yet.
I need to disable YouTube on my mobile because I'm watching ourselves. I was checking if it's working, but yeah, time flies extremely fast, and I didn't even realize when this month passed by. And even though it's in theory a little bit slower time of the year, right? In theory. But we can talk about it. We discussed with Callum that this time will probably be the most loose format ever, even though we do have agendas usually. This time it's extremely freestyle. So please bring in some topics if you have something interesting in mind. We are glad that you are with us here. Not all of you are on holidays or detached from the computers yet.
All the people in the chat are from the UK. I think UK school holidays started, for some people, it started on Friday last week, if they have kids. Some people it started on like midweek this week, some people towards the end of the week. But yeah, I can see the people in the chat are just the UK people. The Danes love to just go on a long summer. We're not here.
Let's talk about it first then. What's your holiday approach, Callum? You've been taking some time off during the year. You're flying quite often in general. Do you use time off distance?
What's time off, Marcin? I don't have time off.
Limited time at work.
So obviously, being based in Australia now, the year is completely opposite. So right now we're in the depths of winter. Let me just check, but it's like, I don't know. Okay, I was going to complain that it was cold. It's 15 degrees outside.
Okay.
It's not that bad, but it's been like 5 degrees, and so it's cold, and it means that there's not so many exciting things to go and do, and just like being in winter in any other country. So what it means is we've already had our summer this year. It happened in sort of the first half of the year, and Christmas is a warm affair. We had 40-degree days at the start of the year, but that also means we're now, and I'm very excited about this, in the slow run up to longer days and things getting a bit warmer. So we've planned a couple of trips for later in the year. We're going to go and visit some places in Australia, and I do obviously do quite a lot of conference travel and work travel as well. So whilst I am not really someone that takes a lot of time off, I'm thinking about work if I'm not working. So I'm very rarely actually taking time off. We've always really liked what I've done in previous years. We'd go away for sort of 2 or 3 weeks, which, privileged thing we could do that. And I would sort of work a few hours a day and basically just have a slower couple of weeks. For a couple of years, we were going to the Canary Islands and really enjoying that as a kind of workation. And if anyone is in a position to do that, I highly recommend you do it. It was a game changer for me. Kind of working on my terms when I want, in a nice place. If I decide today we're going to go do something, I don't do any work, or I check in on stuff. And for a workaholic like me, it worked great because it meant I could stay at arm's length from work, and people could get me if they needed to.
Yeah, but that's also why I'm asking, because I've literally found a screenshot that I've taken on someone's Instagram profile recently. Someone asked a really successful entrepreneur what is luxury for him. He's from Poland, so it's in Polish, but he defined it like that the luxury starts when the rush ends. That's one of the things. And second is that when you have a life from which you do not have to take holidays from.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you like, it describes what you exactly said. So you go somewhere, you decide if you want to, for example, work or not work this day. If you want to work your ass off for 20 hours per day, awesome. But that's your decision. But then you have, 2 days or 3 days to capture back, right? So I agree. That's a really nice definition of that.
We were having this conversation the other day about where do we see ourselves in 10 years time? And like, obviously it's coming up to 10 years of running Bump and being self-employed. And I'm like, could I go back to working for someone? And the question is really, it's a difficult one, because I like the freedom that I have to choose when I work, and I definitely work more hours than I've ever worked in my life. not to say that I'm not enjoying it, and it's not. It's like it's kind of still on my terms. So I do really like that.
I did the similar explorations in my head when I was deciding on myself in the past and also for the future. But in general, it's like if you do what you like doing, then it sounds biased, but it's really you do not feel like you're doing work sometimes, right? And that's this kind of feeling. So when you are forcing yourself to do something, and again, it can happen even if you're running your own company, right? You are forcing yourself to do some things that you don't like, but then you do some things that you like, and you need to balance it out. But in general, again, thinking about 5 years ahead, for example, now seems like crazy. Same as going back 5 years or even 10 years, as you've mentioned. 10 years, man, that's 10 years ago. That was a crazy time. And so 10 years from now, think about it. So that's impossible to imagine. But I think again, a lot of people have different holidays options. I always say to myself that I will do the same as Danes are doing. I will take 5 weeks in 1 year. But then I realized this year, for example, that before my holidays, which are effectively starting tomorrow, I did not have that enough time off because I already used a lot of that from the policies that we agreed with Novicel and in general with my other responsibilities. So it's like, it's if you have 25 days, UK is 25 days, right? By law, for example.
20 is UK. 20, and then we have 8 public holidays. So unlike in Poland, where if your public holiday falls at the weekend, you just don't get it this time. Like you'll always have a substitute day if it falls at a weekend. So you get a minimum of 28 days off if you're a full-time employee.
If I'm correct, our team has 25, maybe with or plus those holidays, but then it's not that much. But the Danes are taking 5 or 4 weeks in a row, for example, and they completely detach. I know that France has similar approach for August, right?
I saw a thing on Twitter or somewhere, some cesspit on the internet the other day saying Claude, the LLM, is based on like this French character, and it's like the responses from Claude might be a bit delayed in July and August because he's off on holiday.
Okay, that's interesting. But again, there are various policies, and I always fall into the train of having summer holidays in summer. But I'm going for 1 week of winter holidays usually for snowboarding trips. Then 1 week for at least complete detachment during the summer, and I'm going for Canary Islands next week as well, without laptop, without too many devices and stuff like that. And then during the year, some days off. I used to have each Wednesday off once for the whole month back in the day. It was awesome. I highly recommend that. But I'm always tempted to do something what you've mentioned, like going for the Canary Islands or somewhere for a month and do some work, do some rest, and just combine it somehow. But that requires a little bit more commitment, from example, from family members, because my wife is not a freelancer, company owner, and she cannot do that. And same with the kids. The whole logistics for me started when my older daughter started to have 2 months of holidays. So imagine this, then you have 2 months to organize, and we are now in already 1 month past. So that's
it's the 2 months where it's the most expensive time of year to go away, because it's when every other kid is off school and when every other family is trying to take holiday, and so it's
exactly. But at least that's also why I appreciate my type of work, because for example today we were already in the office having a couple of the meetings together with my daughter. She was kind of doing some other stuff. Then we came back here home. I have a YouTube recording, for example, then a couple of other meetings. She's doing something else. And then we do some time together. And again, I can do that, right? So imagine this being in the office when you are limited with time or, cars, or, we need to appreciate our work types and also our industry, that we are able to do that more often than ever, because But fun fact is also something what I can add now. My younger daughter recently told me that I need to find a real job. I need to find a real job, something like you need to be a chef or fireman, something that she can describe in the kindergarten what I'm doing, because she still don't know what I'm doing, right? So that was interesting. So
my girlfriend came home the other day, and I don't think she was joking when she said this. She was genuinely surprised that I actually worked in the day. Like she goes out to work, and I stay at home and I work, and then I also work in the evening because I align with the UK team. And she was genuinely like, "What, you actually do work in the weekend?" Like, yeah, of course I work in the day. What do you think I do? Just sit here doing nothing? No. It's a real job. the real
For
job.
people like us, it's hard to do nothing. We can't do nothing.
I'm going to throw a really shameless plug in here, but I did a talk at NDC Oslo back in May about like leading successful teams, including leading successful remote teams, and it was more focused on happiness and well-being, the kinds of things that you as a leader can do or companies can do to make people feel empowered in a remote team. And the video came out this week, and I would not regularly watch a talk back, but because I'm doing that talk again soon, I did. And I personally really enjoyed watching my own talk. So if you want some of my insights into how like we at Bump run teams, things around you were saying about holiday allowance, Marcin, like 25 days, we've got a unlimited leave policy with some guardrails. And I kind of explain all of that in the talk. So I'll pop a link down below. People can watch that if they're interested.
I'm extremely interested because funnily enough, I found my presentation that we did with Pavel in 2015. And it was exactly on the same topic, how to successfully run remote teams, 2015. And we were already probably 3 or 4 years after running company fully remotely. And we were talking about our learnings, of course, from the process, because it's not easy. You know that, everyone knows that it's kind of creating some benefit, but also causing a lot of problems. So it's like, and maybe now we can talk about some other aspects, because recently I talked with, I can't remember who, but we talked about all of those new topics around neurodiversity, for example, supporting people with different kind of attitudes, different awards. And as a business owner, it's interesting to see that motivation varies amongst the people, and also, with everyone you work differently. And these days, I think it become even more open to talk about it, because you are not trying to force everyone to work the same, and then you can benefit from specific people's super skills if you use them.
Embrace people's superpowers, learn how they work. I think it was Jason Waddicker at Code Garden spoke about having this like personal playbook, where it's like this is my instruction manual, and you can give that to your manager and say, here's how I like to be managed. Don't disrupt me when I'm working on something, or in fact do. I love the sort of the thrill and the challenge of being given a million things at once and having to prioritize. And that's a really exciting, or a really interesting way of sharing how someone can help you. And as a manager, if you can learn to play to those strengths and manage the team accordingly, honestly, it makes a world of difference for people on my team. Like there's people who've on my team since COVID started to identify more with different neurodivergent traits, and I think that's perfectly natural and something that a lot of people are seeing, because we're spending more and more time with our own thoughts after COVID. More time alone, less time in an office, and it's been really eye-opening for me to see like how can we work well with people who don't necessarily work how I think they work. Rick's great suggestion here about the manual of me. Lovely idea.
I think that might be really useful. Again, it's hard to say a good manager, but some people will see it, some people won't see it, and that's the challenge in general amongst the teams and organizations that I've been talking about. Because again, it raised my attention recently, because I was submitting some call for proposals for the conference, this Beyond Code conference that I've mentioned probably on umbraCoffees back in the days, that it was all about everything but not code. And it was all about also mental conditions and issues, management, bad management, good management. And a lot of people said that some of the managers recognized their problems or abilities, and they used them or helped them. But also in some other companies, people were saying that no one noticed, and someone was depressed for a year plus, and no one even addressed this topic and just coped with it, right? So I think that's interesting to see that people knows them better recently. I even fell into a huge interest around psychology, and I have probably 5 or 6 books right now about psychology in general, and that's interesting to see that there are some ways of utilizing those things better. And again, without knowing it, we can't even be better or try to be better, even rest better. And I'm not talking only about work right now, but for example, I recognize that I have probably the same as you, a little bit challenge with resting, right? and detaching from things. But since I would say maybe 3 years or 4 years, I did practice it a little bit better, and I became better in it, right? So, but then I recognized it at least, right? So a lot of people don't even know that they are not recharging their batteries because they are still thinking about work, for example, right? So that's an interesting. So that's one of the topics. I think that the next is FOMO.
I was going to say that felt like the most un-umbraCoffee topic we've probably ever covered, and I loved it. And I just wanted to throw a complete side thing in there because it is Umbraco related, which is we had you, Ronald had a wonderful little chat at Code Garden. And it was a great chat about some very serious things in the worst possible place you could have ever imagined. It was on the Thursday to the very side of the dance floor where there's like pumping, I don't know, techno music or whatever we're playing. And me, you, and Ronald were there having a nice heart-to-heart chat about things. And Ronald was like, I think we all said, we should be talking about these things more, mental health challenges, things that are difficult about working remotely, all of those sorts of things. People should be talking about these more, and it would be great to do that. And we're like, maybe we should do it on umbraCoffee, and we have within 6 weeks of that conversation. So
we promised to Ronald. We promised to Ronald that we will do that. So yeah, I think again that's also I always said that the last 2 conferences that I attended, which were Beyond Code and Code Garden, the best talks were also all about around work. And I've mentioned that probably on my summary on Code Garden this year, that it was so many great talks about how we are dealing with. Even I had a talk with Richard Soteman, who I haven't seen in real life for years, about barbecues, kids, family, business, and everything. And then we in the middle of the talk, or by the end of the talk, we realized, holy shit, what we are talking about. It's an amazing talk, but we are completely not touching the standard topics that we would usually consider as a smoke talk on the Umbraco conference or tech conference in general. So it was like more human than ever. And it was really interesting. Same with those chats with Ronald and many other people. I do remember speaking with Pavel, for example, a lot about it too, because we've been both going through the ADHD diagnosis process, which opened a lot of kind of again, boxes where we can look for some highlights on how to operate better, right? So I got confirmed at the end of the day with ADHD, for example, right? So that's interesting to realize something what I haven't been realizing for years, and now try to approach it from different angles and try to utilize it for better in general, not for worse, across the life, not only in work, right? So those talks were really useful, and I think again it's interesting that it happens more often because I don't know why, but we feel more open in the tech talks. But same on the dinner, right? We had a lot of good talks with a couple of people from even Agenda and from your teams. A lot about kind of managing life and collaborating with people who have different approaches to life and work. So,
yeah, for sure. For sure.
Did you have more that like this human talks at Code Garden this year? Do you still kind of reflect back on anything Code Garden related, or?
I'll be honest, I didn't go to a single Code Garden talk except my own. I might have loitered in the back of someone's talk. I think I stood at the back of Ken's talk, but like no, and that wasn't my goal being there either. Ultimately, it was to see people and to chat, have fun. Those I would argue that those like little side conversations you can't put a price on them, whereas I think I can put a price on attending talks. And I'm probably an outlier in this for two aspects. I'm my own employer, and so I don't have to ask permission to be getting value out of something, or there's no expectation from me about the value I'll get from it. And secondly, I probably have a level of conference fatigue. In like last year, I did nearly 30 conferences or 30 events across the year, which is a bit excessive compared to a lot of other people. And I'm aiming for 12 this year, one a month, which I'm slightly ahead of right now. So we'll try to keep it that way. And so a lot of conferences are inundated with those sort of personal skills type talks. And if it's looking particularly interesting, I'll go, but quite often they are the same sort of thing. Someone's perspective, admittedly, and there's always value in that, but I kind of prioritize my time at these events around work, and I'll probably choose work over seeing a talk on a topic that sounds vaguely familiar to what I've seen before. So no, nothing in particular I took away from Code Garden, other than I've come away from Code Garden in recent years feeling grumpy and almost depressed about the state of things. And, this year was certainly not the case for the first time in a long time. So I came away feeling kind of old, like the old days, a bit pumped, a bit charged, ideas, things to work on. So that's good. That's good.
But that was same for me. But you've mentioned one really interesting thing that I want to touch upon, which was like you are your own boss, so you do not have expectations. But at the same time, is it really the thing? Because when I was doing this for myself, I was probably the worst boss for myself because I had too high expectations from me, and I was never matching my expectations. Right? So that was
to be clear, I have no expectations of myself at an event. My expectations about the company, everything are sky high.
So not about your quality of work and stuff like that.
That's a completely different issue, Marcin. Completely different issue.
Okay.
The conferences, in terms of what I like, in terms of what value I get out of it,
makes sense.
It's very different.
But it's same for me, to be honest. Probably the last 2 or 3 Code Gardens, I would say. I never treated as a kind of way to learn things. It was like more, okay, let's surprise myself with something that maybe I'm not seeing if I would be just looking at the agenda. Even from the talks, even from the discussions, I was not aiming to win deals, to make friends, to force making friends and stuff like that. It's more about really, let's see how it will go. And to be fair, again, maybe it's because of our experience. Maybe it's because of the fact that we know a lot of people already, but it's general helping to, again, do not have expectations and always positively surprise yourself. And that's exactly where I ended this year as well. It was like I also came back without feeling this full post-Code Garden blues, I would say, maybe for a couple of days, because I was overwhelmed by amount of conversations and relations, and because I was avoiding events for half a year. So that was like a big bang in the middle of the year. And now I'm planning to go probably for one more conference this year or something like that. And then this year will be over. And again, we are already past more than half year. So then that's not hard to accomplish now.
No, I think that's good. I think that's healthy.
Definitely. Okay, but then Callum, what makes you tired these days now the most?
Clients make me tired. Clients. No, I think to slightly rewind on what we were saying before about, like, I want to feel, I work for myself because I like to feel like I'm in control. And the reality is I am in control to an extent, but clients do dictate my day. And the thing I like is feeling in control and doing the things I enjoy. And when a client is demanding something that is not enjoyable, it's frustrating conversations, or it's fixing some issues on a project that are just really frustrating, then it gets fatiguing quite quickly. I think that's, if you're it's probably no huge secret that I'm a big fan of Apple products, and was in the past a big fan of Steve Jobs, and he's a bit of an ass at times. But one of the things, a famous quote that I like to sort of repeat, is he said, if you wake up every day dreading what you're going to do today, and you ask yourself, is what I'm going to do today genuinely going to make me happy? And if for too many days the answer is no, you need to change something. And I think I really live by that. People have tough days, and sometimes you have a string of tough days. Last week I worked like 18-hour days for four of the days last week, and didn't switch off at the weekend either. And I felt crap at the end of the week. There's no question. But in terms of, do I come away from that feeling drained, like I don't want to do what I'm doing anymore? No, we actually achieved a whole bunch of stuff. It was actually a productive, successful week. So as far as feeling tired, it's when there's not been variety, there's not been difference in a while. I think that's actually what makes me tired. And sometimes that is that, hey, I've not had time for myself recently. Yeah. The thing I'm craving is time for myself. But right now I'm craving exciting work and solving some problems. So.
Yeah, one thing that I've learned recently from someone was that they create 2 lists. One is a to-do list, and one is a done list. and they try to look on the done list more often to see how many things, even though you felt crap, you feel like you under perform and stuff like that, but still you have done something usually, right? And do not look on the list which are not complete, because there will be always an incomplete item on some to-do list, right? So that was one of the really nice lessons. And second, of course, I was mentioning all the time when we talked about this, that it's always a debt or a credit that you take with something else for something else in exchange. So it's like you can't have all things. You can't be successful at work, then have an amazing family life, have time for yourself, and be healthy and look fit. Because it's like we need to dedicate something. So I recently one question that I was asking on probably on one-to-ones or something with the team. It was like, what you want to sacrifice next month? It's like it's not about what you want to accomplish next month. It's more like what you want to sacrifice, what you can't live without. And then, then let's, stop doing this. We have this retrospective exercises somewhere in the books, right? Start doing, stop doing, and all the other stuff like that. And it makes sense, really, because, again, as you've mentioned, if you are doing something doesn't make you joy for a long time of your month, again, 2 weeks is enough to detect the depression, for example, right? Mm-hmm. If in the books said that in 2 weeks consecutive sadness makes you feel already in the spectrum of depression. So it's like it's enough to stop doing something for 2 weeks to see if it helps and not, right? And 2 weeks is not a lot of time, right?
No, it's really not.
So yeah, I have I don't know if I mentioned this on umbraCoffee or not, but I have a really interesting app which is called Stoic. And it's really simple app which asks you in the morning and in the afternoon, how are you feeling? And then you generally track it. And then you can have notes, you can have some, moods, emotions, tracking, stuff like that. And even though I hated it, and I hate notifications, you probably know that more than anyone, I hate notifications and stuff. I do keep those two. And I do try to mark any selections there, even if they are just random, I feel fine, okay, or I feel bad and stuff like that. But amazing fact is that every month, when the month passed, I'm looking back and I'm checking, oh shit, this month I felt, I marked bad 27 days out of 30, right? So something wrong happened this month, right? And then I can see what happened, for example, right? So that's that I think it's quite useful for anyone, not only for managers and for people who are more stressed than others, because if you cannot see that you are, for example, again, data are important. We all know that we need to measure, and we were talking about it even on our talk at some point, that we need to measure things. And then if you are not measuring yourself, your performance, your well-being, then you don't know when you are falling out of
100%.
track. So that's a pro tip. We have a value inside our talk today.
This podcast is this turned into like a self-help podcast or something now, where we're like
healthy developers. There is a guy called. I tried to invite him for a podcast, but yeah, then maybe switch to podcast, because I did start one of the podcasts and I stopped one of the podcasts as well, because I was feeling overwhelmed by that. That's one thing, because I thought that it will help me to, again, bring more joy to my work. Because I like speaking with people, I like talking about various things around the work, and I truly liked recording those podcasts. But then, editing it, releasing it, scheduling guests, thinking about the next guests, living with declined responses from people who I wanted to really interview and stuff like that. It was like, okay, I stopped. I have still one episode recorded that I need to edit and release. But then probably I will just await another moment when I will have another boost of energy when I want to do that. So I like this from Richard. umbraCoffee.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, that's true. But so you've mentioned some plans for the next part of the year. Anything else? Do you have any goals, professional goals as well?
Right now, so from firstly, conference perspective, like I'm away September, October, November, and December. So things aren't slowing down. Like I'm away at least 2 weeks in each month, which is slightly crazy. But so that's for conferences and some other travel. But I'm also really looking forward to that. I was saying the other day how I'm feeling like, oh, I've not been anywhere in a while, and it had been like less than a month that I'd been on a plane. So it's relatively not that much. So yeah, there's a lot of travel, some exciting conferences I'm looking forward to. Some like a couple of bucket list conferences that I've wanted to speak at and have been accepted in finally. After I think I checked, one of them was like 8 years of trying. So that's cool.
Are you able to talk about them? Which one of them?
Some of them aren't announced just yet,
not
so not
okay.
quite yet. But yeah, I'll publicize it. Beyond that, work-wise, like we're in a really interesting time. I mean, this is going to become a business podcast now. We're in a really interesting time for agencies where we're in this like pivotal point where I don't think the traditional agency model works anymore. Like you have to be doing something a bit more. And especially with AI, like you're getting all these, I did some market research on competitors the other day, and the number of agencies that describe themselves as we're an AI-driven digital agency. We are an AI creative agency. It's like, what does it mean? And so we're going through that process right now of actually working out who are we, what do we want to be, what are we doing? And that process has been going on for a good 6 months already in a serious way. It's something we've tried to do over the years, but for the first time, we're actually looking at who are we as a company? What do we want to be specializing in with Umbraco? What do we want to be known for? And then actually putting wheels in motion to make all of that happen. And so it feels like a really exciting time. It also at the same time feels like we're hitting a wall at points where we don't know, we don't have an answer to these things, and it takes a month of conversation, debating, thinking to actually work out what we want to do. But it's this really interesting strategic time, and coupled with got some really exciting projects happening work-wise that are keeping us ticking along. So that's great as well. So I think professionally it's an exciting time. It's a bit of an unknown time because I don't really know what happens. Like as you say, agencies, it's a very difficult game at the moment. Working in an agency. If you're working in an agency right now, I would genuinely say, and this sounds a bit doom and gloom, you're pretty lucky that you've kept a job in the last couple of years. For a lot of agencies, they've been on that like very, very marginal line between, do we have to let a bunch of people go or something? And maybe a lot of people have experienced that in their companies too. So if your CEO or your whatever is probably more stressed than you can ever imagine in the last 2 years.
Yeah, and that's also why I wanted to say that I wouldn't want to be on this position now. Because I see it from the various other angles. And to be fair, I spoke with some of our shared friends as well. They lost their job as well recently as a probably last bit of the wave that is going through it. Because I agree with you that, again, those agencies that I observe and watch, they probably already overcome this by some reductions, by some cutouts and other actions, but it needs to change. And again, the thing that I see, because I have some kind of business eye as well on the things, and I would love to see how those changes would help and how they will change the business. I was looking for the post from one of the guys who was running a big agency called Divante in Poland. He sold it then for a huge exit, then started some other couple of other projects, and now he said, "Oh shit, software business is not like this anymore, and it's
exactly.
You need to change." And that's the thing, right?
You do. The saying that someone told me and I've been repeating is niche down or die. So it's basically you've got to identify what your niche is, operate in that niche, and make it really clear who your target client is. Make it really clear who your target employee is. Make it really clear what you're really good at. And so the people who've been doing everything are the ones that are struggling the most. And what I'll say is, like we're in a really good place right now. So it's not I'm seeing this in a very analytical way. But a lot of companies that a lot of people perceive, oh, this company's really active on social media, or they're doing lots of stuff as being a sign of health. And I think that couldn't be further from the truth. Actually, the ones that are quiet and not talking too much about what they do right now are the ones that are genuinely really busy and are ticking over nicely. The ones that are frantic on social media are generally the ones that are struggling a little bit more. I talk about
It's a typical observation that I have as well. It's seen, of course, and again, everyone fights for success. I think one thing that we can touch upon here to combine it also with Umbraco is how do you see kind of approach from the specialist inside of our already a niche, right? Somehow, because I will elaborate a little bit on that, and then maybe you can share your feedback. It's more about, for example, if you're a front-ender doing Umbraco work, right? Is better for you to focus on framework aspects and then shape it up, or learn maybe new framework and be the best front ender that integrates with APIs and Umbraco headless, however you will name it, or generalize yourself a little bit more and think about why you are solving problem like this, why UX of this looks like that, maybe think about more behavioral challenges, and then think more like a client, because that's what I'm thinking right now. I do believe that for me, for example, the best was that I was able to write code, but also able to filter good and bullshit and requirement from something what is not needed. And I think right now that would be the case to achieve more, because you won't be doing things that are not needed anymore, even if you are the best in your framework, for example. That's my opinion, at least.
I think your two examples are the same, and you've maybe missed it. So being a generalist in lots of frameworks and lots of all this sort of stuff, I agree, doesn't apply anymore. But if you can say, I'm a purebred Umbraco developer that truly understands the ins and outs of the core and building high scale, high performance Umbraco solutions, you're able to create that niche. And if you want to say, actually, I'm a developer that has that broad knowledge, but my specialty is turning your business requirement into an actual feasible solution, and I know enough about all of the various options on the market that I can advise you best, that's great, do that as well. I think that's where people should be focused. So there's all of the generalist stuff nowadays honestly is covered by a lot of these AI tools. Code generation is a big thing. Like you can get 80% of the way there with an app by sort of just asking GPT.
But then my kind of point is that you need to know what you are asking for, right? And I think this is where I maybe to describe this counter example is like, if you are just specialized, let's say in Vue.js, right? You are the best Vue.js developer on earth, but you don't want to talk with business, you don't want to understand their problems, you're just doing tasks. I think this is the danger now, because those tasks can be done by tools.
You need to be more than just a great engineer.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking right now. And again, I noticed it on myself, that it helped me to ask the right questions for the right things or right people, and now even right tools. But at the same time, I found the studies, we can share them in the descriptions, that AI slowed down experienced teams. I don't know if you have seen this. It was done on 12 or 16 senior developers who were working for open source projects. And they were doing work with and without AI tools. And those that were using AI tools were slower by probably 20% or even more than those who were not using. But they knew the code base, they knew what they are resolving and stuff like that. So
for sure, like an LLM or a code generation tool cannot. It can follow pre-established patterns and stuff, but it can't understand why something's being done a certain way or what the actual business need behind something is. And so, yeah, you're 100% right that I think an LLM or code tools can slow people down in that. I also saw an interesting study that was like measuring organizational productivity with AI tools. And if you interviewed each individual developer, they would say, oh, I'm way more productive. But if you actually measure productivity as a whole across a company, they aren't. The output is lower, and I'll find the study, and again we'll link it below. But it's super interesting that it's not.
I will do the same, because I found this video today on one of the newsletters, and it has a couple of really nice highlights from the guys from various tools and various systems, very senior people that are approaching the topic of how to become a great software developer, right? So, and how it is changing. And of course, it was released 2024, so it already has changed. But yeah, that's an interesting video to watch. But same with the studies like this. I mentioned it to you before we went live. That's how our tech stacks are affected by not demographics, it's boring, but AI tools and this adoption of AI tools, because of course everyone is talking about it, but how it is changing already since the times, and also how it is helping or not helping from.
I love these studies, because it's the same with, do they still do it, the Stack Overflow developer survey?
Yes, they do.
And it's, what an amazing way to show you how much of a bubble you're living in, thinking your technology is the best thing, and everyone's like, oh, okay, .NET's ranking 6th on popular languages now, or people online
behind Ruby and Rails. Yeah, exactly. That's
people
crazy.
Online love to tell you that GitHub Copilot's rubbish and actually you should be using Claude. But the reality is, you look at it and it's like, okay, the majority of people are using Copilot, and so yeah, it's kind of an echo chamber as well. IDEs, it's all these like ideological things, isn't it? Where you say, oh, you must be a Rider user to be any good kind of
most disliked tools. Jira.
I would love to see the gap between all of those. I'd love to see the actual numbers, like how many people actually said Jira, and then between that and number 2.
But again, Gregory here has a huge fan base, right? So those studies are, I wouldn't say that as same as Stack Overflows, but imagine this has more than a couple thousands of mentions or replies. So it's not a small probe of people. It's really interesting study.
More engaged group than the Stack Overflow survey. Yes, a smaller sample size, but Gregory's worked at Uber and Microsoft, and he's worked across a whole big range of tech stacks. And I think as a general technologist, he's incredibly well respected. So this is fascinating.
AWS still.
Azure, yeah, I mean,
again, we are both on Azure.
100%, being 19% is mind blowing to me. Again, we're living in a bubble. Like I see Azure and I'm like, oh yeah, comfortably Azure is way ahead of Google as far as cloud's concerned. But clearly not.
Yeah, that's, again, I will link it to our description, because I was going through that today as well. So it's again, I agree with you that again, bubble we are living in, and at the same time niches, which are again helping us, because we shouldn't be probably adopting all of the cloud providers just because we can. We shouldn't be writing code in Python because it's fancy and everyone likes it. But again, problems resolved makes the most of the sense. And right now it's faster for us to do it with the technology that we know. Easy. So
I find it super interesting that, like, if you talk to traditional front-end devs right now, they've all been banging on about headless sites, or build static generation, let's use Next, etc. And then when you drill into it, it's like everyone's doing the same thing. So I want Next, I'm going to host on Vercel, and we're going to use these plugins, these libraries, and it's great because it all just works and it's amazing, and they kind of tell you how it revolutionized their life, and that's fine. They're allowed to do that, but everyone should find what they're happy, comfortable with doing and continue doing that. I think talking about it's handy, but there's certain groups, maybe Umbraco's been this way at times as well, where they're fanatical and like there's no other way of doing something. People can be open.
Coming back to the fact that we are not a cult, but it has some reference to, of course, religions and stuff, because you can believe in something, but you don't need to be advocating for it for life. And it's like, I have the same mindset right now. It's like, okay, I have my own technologies. I won't be fighting with someone because someone has their different technology. Again, I know what I can use it for, what I can't use it for. I will use some others if I would need to. But at the same time, I'm not trying to convince someone to believe in C# because it's my belief. And for example, right? And I completely agree with that. But it shows us how the world is different. And even within .NET, before .NET Core and all these other aspects, we were kind of really in a bubble. Probably, maybe you can confirm that because you are one of the Microsoft MVPs amongst the others. Being more exposed to Microsoft technologies, being on Microsoft conferences brought a lot of things back to Umbraco and our ecosystem, because probably before all of those, I would say, new tools, new services, cloud adoption and stuff like that, we were kind of using 1 or 3%, I'm just guessing, but small percentage of the possibilities of technology. So that's the, maybe not a sad reality, but that's something interesting to explore now.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And I mean, even look inside Microsoft, big companies, they are sort of taking this view of we choose the right tech stack for the job. LinkedIn famously is the largest Java code base in the world, and that's owned and operated by Microsoft.
Yeah, Microsoft.
The largest Java code base in the world is Bing, and so you're thinking, hey, like all these systems, or at least known publicly, there's probably big ones. Like all these big systems, Microsoft's choosing what they believe to be the right tech for the job, and so yeah, this is not a novel concept, is it?
Yeah.
It's not a novel concept.
Yeah, and that's interesting. Still, I do believe that our industry will be still bringing joy and surprises all the time, because I followed David Heinemeier Hansen wrote recently an interesting reply back to Levelsia or someone else from the Twitter sphere, and he said, he was annoyed by some of the programming languages that were looking like a Japanese sign charts or something like that, and then he wrote his own language. So I'm thinking how many people will be annoyed by various things that are living these days, and they will find some other ways to do some things. And again, we'll be in cycle a couple of years from now on, back again. Now we are generating static HTML. So we'll see what we'll be doing next. That's interesting.
Should we talk about Umbraco things? I love it. We've been talking 47 minutes about not Umbraco at all, and it felt so refreshing. But there's a few things going on in the community, isn't there?
There are.
We had a Scrift release. Was that last week? 2 weeks ago? Oh no, we're at the end of the month. It would have been a month ago, but there was a mid-month newsletter, wasn't there, like a week ago?
Yes. I have it even opened. Let me share my screen.
Oh, you did? Awesome.
Yeah. And I have opened the Umbraco Q2 product update, because that was also the one that probably is mentioning everything. But let's start from Script. So there were 2 articles, and I think that one is ideally combined with what we were talking about, because it's like a cross-region load balancing with Docker Umbraco Cloud. Everything what can be new technology-wise, also on the Umbraco side, with Umbraco Cloud and all the new CI/CDs possibilities on the Cloud V2. An extensive article. I haven't read it fully, but it has a lot of whys and hows. So I kind of liked it.
Also, I believe the first, not actually the first, because Script did a couple of months back do a triple author thing, but it's at least the first community triple author post. So that's cool. Yeah.
And the second article from this release was from Vishal, and it was about Google Maps APIs. Still in use, still how to configure them, and it's quite interesting usually as well. And then Umbraco's product updates. I think again we touched a lot about it and talked a lot about it after Code Garden. It was posted probably straight ahead of that or after that, right?
I think a lot of people came away from Code Garden feeling quite excited about some of the things they saw, including Compose, because I've seen some agencies literally posting on LinkedIn in the last 2 weeks saying, Umbraco Compose is here, come and talk to us about it. It's like, it doesn't actually exist yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this one is one that's particularly made a big mark on people.
Yeah.
I'm excited personally, depending on how much it costs.
Yeah, and to be fair, as we were already using a competitor solutions that are composing things like that from Umbraco integrations as well, I'm also excited because it will be closer to the central ecosystem. And again, the concepts and the way how Umbraco wants to resolve that by already improving some of the issues that those platforms has, I think will be really interesting. And I don't know if I mentioned that, but Contentful has this platform which has also a UI builder for the composed data.
Sort of draw the connection.
For example, you already drag and drop the product listing item, and then you say, okay, title comes from this system, description comes from this system, and images from this system. And that's
you see, that's cool. I see 2 big selling points of Compose. The first is exactly as you said, Marcin. If you want to build a fully composable architecture and pull all these systems together and having a managed layer to do that, that's great. From my perspective, it's hugely powerful for data migrations. And every time I've spoken to people at Umbraco about this, they've gone, oh yeah, that's kind of like that is a use case, but I don't think it's the primary use case. You mentioned, competitor, but EnterSpeed is great for exactly that. And they've had good examples of showing how you can take your data from Umbraco at the time and pull that straight into the latest version. But for us as agencies and people working in agencies, the potential there is huge for us to say, hey, yeah, it understands Sitecore and it can pull all of the data out of Sitecore and put that into the central format that we can then import directly into an Umbraco CMS and use that as part of the upgrade, and have Compose there in the middle. Whilst the upgrade and the new site's being built, content's being synced in constantly, so that there's none of this big content migration task, or there's none of this big bang where we switch over and there's bits of content that have been lost in the process. Like, it's all just in this central source. Yeah. I think that's really actually where the value is, and I can see us paying quite happily a percentage of what a client would be paying us for an Umbraco upgrade or a rebuild, a migration for that product. I think for the actual composition stuff, you're looking at more consumption-based pricing, like per request type thing. I think the commercial value is actually in the upgrades bit, but
I have something that came to my mind right now. It's like, because if we're talking and thinking about it as an Umbraco Compose, is it really that much Umbraco influenced? Shouldn't be the... And to be fair, that might be a challenging, because you've mentioned Sitecore, for example. Why Sitecore clients should use Umbraco Compose? That's probably something business needs to think about, because I do believe that it might be useful for, again, WordPress sites as well, Sitecore sites and Drupal sites, whatever, because it should compose anything, right? It should be able to listen for a data from any source, and then be able to serve it through the API layer for anything else. Umbraco is not reading those data from Compose APIs, or may read, but doesn't need to. And to be fair, right now, we use this example. For example, we started building a news section on the latest Umbraco, because the old site were living on Umbraco 8, for example, and we didn't want to change the whole site. We were just changing the news or insight section. So we built it on Umbraco 13. And then we were composing it from 2 different Umbracos instances and serving it from the front. And then when the rest of the site will be migrated over, we can just replace the source. It makes sense. I'm also excited about it. But again, I started thinking if it should be named Umbraco Compose.
It feels very one way, doesn't it?
Maybe someone from Umbraco will listen and think about it as well, and try to maybe build another brand, which might be a copy brand for that.
I'm very excited about it. I spoke with Lasse quite a lot, and Rasmus as well at GoGarden, and they're both keen on what the future looks like. So I'm optimistic, provided the price is right. Philip was very clear in the keynote. It's an enterprise product, and that means enterprise pricing. So it's exciting. Just agencies should stop trying to sell it already.
And it's probably the same excitement goes to MCPs and all the abilities around that. I still feel like Compose and MCPs were the 2 most talked topics after Code Garden, at least the ones that I've seen. So this is still exciting, and I think we talked about it a little bit, but again, we'll probably see more. Hopefully, we'll see more use cases.
I see a post on socials every day or every other day at the moment about people experimenting with MCP. I've got an MCP talk coming up soon that is kind of like, I don't know, not trying to downplay the hype. Like, MCP is really powerful, but it's just super interesting to see what happens when it could go wrong. And I don't think anyone's quite scratched the surface yet with Umbraco.
Rollback MCP actions.
The idea that if you get a security audit and it's like, we've let an LLM basically have full unreined access to our CMS via an API. They're not gonna like that. So it's really interesting.
Maybe then Umbraco deploy will have a state machine, and it should be able to bring back the state of Umbraco from yesterday or something like that. But that's exciting as well. And Philip will be also talking about MCP on one of the meetups during the summer. That's what at least I saw on meetup.com. So we'll definitely hear more about it. But to be fair, I can say that aloud. I'm not in trouble that we are starting using Umbraco Cloud more and more, and I'm also positively excited about how it works these days. We've been talking about it back in the days that maybe it wasn't yet in the state where we can offer it for again stable, complex enterprise levels where there were expectations for the stability SLAs and all the other stuff. Right now, I think again we worked on the process before deploying to cloud, then distributing things from between cloud environments, and also exposing it further for through the APIs from cloud directly. So I think again maybe in 3 or 4 months I will have more hands-on examples on that, but we've just started working it, and I'm positively impressed. And I already talked with Umbraco team members that I'm impressed, and huge kudos to the teams working behind the scenes on those, because it looks better, it works better, and it has bigger advantages right now to sell it to the client. So
I'm interested in your journey there, because we had the same conversation internally this week. Like, do we bite the bullet again, and do we go for a cloud?
Give us a couple of months. I will come back with honest feedback, and we can revisit that. And yeah, there is a lot of other things, changes around the products, right? Probably the commerce headless version as well will be coming out. Not that far away.
We already have commerce headless.
Yeah. Okay. And so, what was it? Engage or something else that was working?
Engage had headless too. Someone in the chat let us know, but I'm pretty sure commerce headless has existed for a long time, because Matt did some great demos with Vercel and like the
maybe
it's even a demo store repo that you can use for
Again, I didn't do any headless commerce and any commerce recently as well on Umbraco, so maybe I fell out of the train. But yeah, let us know, because I know that at least Corner was working on the headless for Engage for a little while, but we are headless probably all the way now, maybe. And workflow the same. So changes for the licenses, of course, and other stuff. And Umbraco 16, I think we when we started preparing for this episode, it was probably the only topic that we said, okay, that was kind of happened this month, and that was a huge major release. And now I can say one thing that is related to Umbraco 16. I think we'll be using Umbraco 16 right now as a pit stop in between of Umbraco 13 and 17 now. So we are already... That's my approach, at least for 1 or 2 projects that we are right now working on. It's like we decided to start development now on Umbraco 16, and then we'll update it to Umbraco 17 as soon as first RC will come out.
Yeah, we've had a similar debate internally actually about what should we be doing with Umbraco sites now? Could we be doing that? And I think maybe you're right. Maybe it's time. Maybe it's nearly time.
Again, that's a risk, of course. Always is risk attached here, but I think it sounds best, because I didn't realize again that we are because we right now some of the clients come back and said, right now let's update to V13, and I said, damn it, we are right now in the position where V13 will be end of life by the end of next year. Yeah, and Umbraco 17 is going to be released by the end of this year.
We've got a V13 upgrade that was sold in August last year and has just now been approved. And we're like, should we just do this to 16 instead? It probably makes more sense.
But that's exactly the risk which we are right now probably going to take for at least those 2 clients that I'm working on right now. It's like, okay, let's start on V16. It's kind of, it might not have everything yet fully covered working, but we will learn over the time on this. And I don't know, I was going to ask when the first RC of Umbraco 17 will be out. It should be probably 3 months or something like that before.
It will be mid-October. The 16th, or supposedly the 16th. That is, I'm not leaking anything there. No one come after me. It's per their release schedule. That's like 6 weeks. So that should be when it is.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was calculating on. So again, release candidate should be already in the state where we can update to and see the major issues, address them before the stable release will come out, and
exactly
that makes sense. So thanks Umbraco for cadence and release cadence. We can prepare, we can plan ahead, and that's amazing. Yeah. But have you tested Umbraco 16 already? Did you
no, not extensively. I did set it up locally and just check that it runs and stuff, but no, not really.
Same here. But people, if you did, let us know maybe in the comments if you have any thoughts, any feedback. And yeah, search improvements, something what you talked about, something what we also watched on the talks on Code Garden and RFCs, heavily awaited, I think. and many other things here. So exciting times. And there was also one more blog from Philip about the future in general, which I had open, so why not to talk about it? Of course, AI, orchestration, so compose, search, and personalization. I think these were the areas which Philip was mentioning for a little while on keynotes. But now they got more materialized, and again, people are finally using it a little bit more. So we'll probably see more examples, and then we could then talk about it.
Yeah,
and that's probably all of the exciting news that we prepared for today.
I was gonna throw in there. Rick put a nice blog post up about Code Garden, and also dropped a nice little nugget in there, which means I don't have to keep a secret anymore, that he's joining HQ on the 1st of September, which is awesome. Well done, Rick.
Woo, yeah, congrats, Rick.
A fantastic move for HQ, and he'll be working on commercial products and also on the umbraco.com site, which is awesome.
And we know that I spoke a lot with Wojtek and other people who are working on the site. It is an amazing project itself. So it will be interesting to have another skilled technical developer and person joining the team who will help it make it even better. Of course, utilizing all the Umbraco products as well inside of it. So that's congrats, and that's interesting move. And yeah, will be
I guess 7, 8, I can't remember, of the Umbraco adjacent Microsoft MVPs got renewed in a couple of weeks back as well. So that's cool. And there was another, maybe I'm not allowed to talk about that. Never mind. Next time.
We'll catch up next month. Yeah, that's leave it for next month.
Yes.
Yeah. You've mentioned that some of those things are happening, but yeah, still, even though it's a little bit summertime and we had a little bit loose time on it today, there are events happening all the time. I saw someone's posts on LinkedIn recently about some events in Leeds and many other places this month. Even this month and next month, right?
Phil did a great post yesterday about there was like 5 lightning talks last night in Manchester. There's a barbecue happening, cooperation between Umbraco Leeds and the Leeds Sharp.net meetup there, as well as some other parties, some sponsors. Umbraco Foundation's involved in that too. There's an exciting schedule of community events lining up for the end of the year, both in the UK, Europe, and the US. I know the US festivals very shortly announcing their speaker lineup. I know that Sweden has got their call for paper there for Sweden, and they are desperate for more Swedish people to submit. So if you are Swedish listening, go sign up for that if you'd like to share your thoughts. I was at both those events last year, and they were great. The Danish festival is also in the process of coming up with their lineup. I think they're still open for submissions, and there will be some community things in the UK happening, but I'm not really involved.
Okay, that's
not for me to say.
Probably it will be easier for you to not be involved if you are not there in person physically. But yeah, we'll see. We'll then leave some of it for next month or next month. Next month or next month. But yeah, there is a lot of things happening. So for those who are looking for events, again, look at meetup.com. Check out the Matt's newsletters. They are always highlighting the upcoming meetups as well, and yeah, highlights what you have shared or learned there, because we'll be probably looking for more agenda topics next month when we will catch up at the end of the summer. It will be already end of the summer for some. For some, and we'll follow up on that, and we'll be looking forward to those events. I don't know if I will be planning to visit some of the events, to be honest. As I said, I definitely want to go for this Beyond Code conference, even though I was not accepted as speaker, which I'm a little bit sad about. But I will probably still go there to exchange some of the topics and ideas, as you've mentioned and we've both mentioned. I admired and adore the most from the recent talks. So everything Beyond Code. So that will be probably my plan. But I would love to go for some of the Umbraco event, at least one event. I was thinking about States, but it's again pre-season for NBA, so too early for me. To combine it with some pleasure behind and besides the tech. Maybe some others, maybe some, again, I haven't been on Danish festival yet.
Danish festival is good. Tivoli in Aarhus this year. So I guess Tivoli's closed that time of year in December, so it's not going to be like a big open theme park, but we'll see. Yeah.
I will try to choose something. Definitely, maybe one more event from Umbraco. Then maybe UK, if, as you mentioned. I will see what is going to happen. So yeah, we'll see. Should we then close the coffee? I think that was already
different. Nice chat. I liked it.
Yeah, me
Let
too.
us know if you like this. Should we do an Umbra decaf occasionally, or should we go back to just getting some guests on and talking about news? Let us know.
Exactly. And yeah, then enjoy. I'm logging off next week, almost completely. I'll probably be on Instagram only. So that's my plan, at least for 2 weeks. So I will probably recharge finally this year. Read 5 books which I plan to read amongst these 2 weeks. Ambitious plan, but that's always good plan. And then we will catch up by the end of August, which will not be that far away in time.
No.
Awesome. People, enjoy your time off or at work, whatever you are doing or planning to do, and let us know if there's anything interesting that you want to maybe highlight or share or talk about on the next umbraCoffee. And yeah, definitely let us know about umbraco decaf version, and then we can include that in our schedules as well and see if it should happen more often or not.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cheers. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Callum. Enjoy. Bye-bye.